fourth term, and we were talking about that, and it just seems so fast. Rebekah Gewirtz from Ward 6, probably one of the most happening places in Somerville.
Sure
and she's also chairperson of Environmental and Energy, Housing and Community Development. She's on the committee. She's a chairperson of Legislative Matters, which has really been busy for the last couple of years, and Public Utilities and Public Works. And I think probably the first thing we want to discuss is Ward 6, Davis Square, which is probably always a hot topic, and you know, the big topic down there now is a hotel, and you know, that's been going on for quite a long time, the discussion with that, and maybe you can tell us where it's at, and you know, what the plans are and so forth.
Well, thanks for the question, because it is important, and I want to make sure that there isn't any misinformation out there. This hotel process is going to be an open community process, so people will have ample opportunity to engage in that process. At the moment, we are working on putting together the Hotel Technical Advisory Committee, which is the group that's going to be reviewing the RFPs that come in from the developers, and that will be responsible for vetting them, and then we'll be engaging the larger community in that process. I do want to point out that I'm absolutely committed to making sure that we have several community members on the Hotel Technical Advisory Committee, and I know the mayor shares that commitment with me. He and I have talked about that at length. And in fact, we're meeting to talk about it again tonight.
Oh, so
good. We are absolutely committed to the community engagement in this process, and I think that's going to bring us the best development.
Yeah.
I think the idea of having a boutique hotel in Davis Square could be a really great thing for our community. It's right next to the T. It's a great amenity.
Yep.
I know when I have friends who come in to visit from out of town, and let's say they can't stay over for, you know, whatever reason, they can maybe go to this hotel. And you know, as long as it fits in with the character of the neighborhood, it has green elements and design, that it makes sure that we're, you know, in addition to the green elements and design, that we don't fully displace the farmers market, that we find another location very close by for that farmers market, and that we have that full process.
And it was a long process, right? I mean, they did a study, I think in 2007, and then the request for, it wasn't a request for a proposal, but a request for qualifications, right? So it was really kind of, and then you had different hotel, I guess, come in and take a, maybe if you could explain that.
Sure, yeah, so like you said, this has been going on for years, this idea, and back in 2007 there was a study, then we had created a hotel advisory group at that point that looked at some of the proposals that came in, but then as we all know, in 2008 the bottom fell out of the economy,
right, yeah.
And nobody could get financing anymore, so the project was sort of shelved. But now there's been a lot more interest in picking it back up again because the economy is improving. There's financing now available for people. And actually at the pre-bidders meeting last week, there were many people who came to learn more about what the proposals should look like.
Yeah. It really is a market for it too, because of there's universities up here and so forth, and they're all looking for hotel rooms for Parents' Weekend and so forth. Because you see them in Davis Square anyway, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're all walking. You can see once they come up there in September, and you know, to drop the kids off, and you know, that's where they're all headed is Davis Square. You know?
Yeah, and I know Tufts is fully committed to this as well. They're very enthusiastic about having a hotel close by where parents can stay.
Yeah. So I'm glad. I'm sure it will work out well.
Yeah, I have great hope that we'll have a great process, and that we'll have a good project at the end of that as a result of the process.
And Davis Square is getting dressed up. We have a revitalization project coming up. Maybe you could tell us a little about that.
Sure, we have two big projects coming up in Davis Square, the Davis Square Streetscapes project and the Kenny Park renovation.
Right.
So for those who don't know, Kenny Park is the park across the street from the Rite Aid on the corner of Highland Ave and Grove Street. And while it's a nice little park, it needs a facelift.
Sure.
You know, it needs some work on the play area. The basketball court has a huge crack down the middle. The water fountain feature area, which isn't on anymore, really feels dark and kind of gloomy. It really needs to be spruced up. I think we're trying to encourage and keep young families here and keep people wanting to be here. I think having a space to bring young kids is really important. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's happening presently, actually.
Right.
There's a person in City Hall whose job it is to execute this. We've had several community meetings and we're moving forward. In addition, the Davis Square Streetscapes plan is something that I have been pushing for the past several years, and finally it is coming to fruition. We have had several community meetings about that, where we're going to really have a redo, of Davis, and I don't want that to alarm anybody, but because we're not going to drastically change any of the configuration, we're going to really, those bricks can be hazardous to people. I hear stories, people falling on their face, crack their teeth, elderly people living at Champa Manor, or disabled people trying to maneuver the bricks with their, with their walker or in a wheelchair. And we really owe the community, I think, a better streetscape, and we can make that happen. Davis Square is kind of the crown jewel in many ways of the city, and not to say anything about any of the other squares, because I certainly love those too.
They're getting there, but
they're getting there.
Davis Square's been there for a while.
Davis Square is really an engine, and so what do you want to do with an engine? You want to oil it. You want to make sure that it stays strong and that it attracts people and that it's vibrant. And so we can do that, and we've just appropriated some funding to be able to do that. So.
I know that Kenny Park was, I think the last time they did that over was 1995. I did call the girl today, and I had, found a little background. Obviously I grew up here, so I'm very familiar with Kenny Park, and I know that you've had a lot of meetings with the neighborhood, and how's that going? I mean, everybody's enthusiastic about it. And
people are really pleased with it. They really feel that it's time. Most people don't, and this is how I feel. I know this is how, I'm pretty sure this is how the mayor feels, that, we share this feeling that it's not that the park needs to be taken to the ground and rebuilt. It's that the park really needs a lift, so we need to do something about the wood chips. We need to do something about the play apparatus. We need to maybe add some more plantings and make it just a more welcoming park for people to bring their kids. There have also been suggestions to have some equipment installed that would be for older kids, because there's a lot for very small children and toddlers, and not as much for kids who are maybe 10 or 11 or 12. So we're going to look at that too.
That's good. And I think that she was saying the construction would start this summer on the park. That's pretty good. We're
looking for a groundbreaking in the spring, actually. So be on the lookout for that. You should come.
Good. Yeah, I'll be there.
Okay, good.
One of the things, and I know you're a tireless worker on this, was the Green Line extension. And, a lot of people had their doubts about, what was going to happen with that. And then all of a sudden, the governor had a meeting and said, well, we're going to do this in, I don't know, 2012 or whatever, and start that. And maybe you can tell us, where it is, where it's at now, and,
Yeah, the Green Line extension is coming. And it's really been solidified, and we owe a lot to our state delegation, our state legislators, who talk about working tirelessly to make sure that this happens. They have such a commitment to this project. Tim Toomey, Denise Provo, Carl Shortino, Pat Jalen. It is like what they work on, to make sure that this happens, because it's going to be so critical to the future of the city, making sure that we have that transit to get people in and out of Boston. It's going to really help the local economy. Look at what Davis Square has done for Somerville. In each one of those Green Line stops, we're going to see more progress. And I think that's what we're looking for, more to the tax base. I don't think we can rely solely on Assembly Square. I think Assembly Square is important. The Orange Line stop is important. We need to have good, strong development there. And we also need to make sure that we're doing the same for the rest of the city.
And, he had just had a meeting, the governor, had a meeting about, increasing the income tax to pay for some of these, the infrastructure for the transportation. Obviously, that's included with it, and probably maybe federal money. But it's for this piece of the city, it's going to provide like better opportunities for residents to get into Boston, just like the Orange Line does. And you know, I think it's better for everybody, and it would probably take a lot of automobiles off the street, which is getting pretty crowded around.
Talk about reducing air pollution, and reducing annoyance and frustration. Just on the revenue topic, I just want to say how strongly in favor I am of that proposal. I do a lot of work actually in my day job, also working on issues like that and working to raise revenue to support the programs we care about and to support communities. So we have a bill actually called an Act to Invest in Our Communities, which mirrors a lot what the governor's proposal is, which is all about reinvesting. How can we make sure that we are growing our way out of financial trouble?
Right.
And so people, I think, really need to look at this holistically. Just yesterday and today, there were huge delays on the red line and on the green line. Yesterday, I was on the red line wondering what was going on. The day before that, I was on the green line. They got us all off the train and said, this train's going out of service. Everyone, I'm sure, has been through that experience. You have to get on another train to try to get to where you're going. This system has fallen apart. And we need to invest in it if we want to have the kind of economy, the kind of growth, and the kind of future that we should be having here in Massachusetts.
I think the transportation secretary was on TV, and I was watching it, and he was saying that some of the cars are just, the last time they bought them was 1985 or something like that, and that's the orange line, which is much more ahead of the green line and, you know, the other cars that are there, you know, so it's a transportation system that's really in disarray.
It's just the can's been kicked down the road and kicked down the road and kicked down the road. And finally, you know, we have leadership that's saying, we're not going to kick that can down the road anymore. We're going to leave a legacy for the next generation that isn't broken and crumbling roads, bridges, transportation system, that doesn't lack a green line extension that's mandated by law, you know, because in order to get the green line extension, we need state revenues to support that. So in this, we have an investment. Not just that, he's talking about an investment in education, in mental health, in programs that, again, that lift everybody, lift all of our boats. And
they're important, and I think that people are willing to spend tax money for that, you know, and the increase. And, you know, I know it's tough. It's tough on a lot of families, but what do? Do you just let it go the same way it's been going, and that doesn't work either.
Well, the other really good thing about the governor's proposal is that it's progressive in that it increases the personal exemption so that families who are lower middle income, mostly low income families, will not see an increase. So the increase will largely happen for the families who can afford to pay, and middle class people will maybe pay a little bit more too. There's been some graphs in the Globe, but I think a little bit more from everybody is going to make a huge difference.
Go a long way, absolutely.
Go a long way into the future. So.
And you know, one of the things that we had talked about, and this was even before we were on the show tonight, was the Somerville Police Department's automated license plate scanners. And you know, when we were going to talk last week, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it, and then I did find the article in the Scout magazine about it, and it was very interesting. Maybe you can tell us, you know, your thoughts on that.
Sure. I have long raised questions and concerns about our use of cameras in public spaces. I believe people have the right to have some expectation of privacy, some knowledge that they're not being followed or watched by the government. And let me just be clear, because I don't think the Somerville Police Department is any way misusing technology. And so I'm not talking about, for example, this police department or this, you know, leadership within this police department. The concept is the people in these jobs now aren't the people who are going to be there forever, or even next year, or even next month. You don't know. So that's why I think we need to have guidelines that guide the use, the city's use, and the Somerville Police Department's use of this sort of technology, because it can be very intrusive in people's lives. Now, the plus side, of course, is that it can help to solve crimes. It can help contribute to a sense of people feeling safer if used appropriately. But you can get these negative downsides, and that's my worry. So why not have guidelines? Let's have guidelines in place for these cameras. There's also going to be a proposal at tonight's Board of Aldermen meeting that went through the Finance Committee last night, the meeting I was at, about quick deploy cameras. And there's been a grant from Homeland Security giving us 2 of these cameras that apparently you can deploy immediately in a given situation. And I worry about that. Again, not for this police department, but for a future police department that maybe doesn't want to see a political protest.
Sure.
Or maybe wants to deploy a camera to maybe make people a little nervous about expressing their point of view. And that probably wouldn't happen, but it could.
Right.
And why not have guidelines in place to make sure that we're giving our citizens the protections they deserve?
And I know they keep the data for a certain amount of time. I mean, this police department really doesn't keep it long. I think it was 14 days or whatever. So they come out and they take a picture of, it's actually called the automated license plate recognition, which takes a picture of your license plate and they form it wherever they were at a certain point in time, and then they can look at this. But, you know, obviously our police department right now they kill the data after 14 days, but you can keep that data. There were some police departments, not this police department, but others that use this system that kept it for years, right? And that's probably the bigger problem of the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, this police department is terrific. I mean, you know, they're diligent, they're getting rid of the data, but we don't know what's going to happen into the future. And I think as elected officials representing our communities, it's our responsibility to make sure we're safeguarding people into the future.
Absolutely. That's probably the most important.
Yeah, for sure.
You're losing another alderman. Oh, you lost another alderman.
I was like, someone else?
No.
Who is it?
But
Are you
you
in the
lost,
know?
yeah. You know, Bill Roach had just resigned from the thing. And the board's changed a lot since you've been there, right? I mean, you know,
not a huge amount,
yeah,
but a little bit.
Yeah. So you lost him. He was there for, 17 years, and you lost a colleague, and, you know, now there'll be an election, obviously, coming in November, where you'll have another colleague, or you'll have one that's now. How do you feel about that?
Well, we didn't lose him because he didn't perish, thankfully.
Yeah, I didn't mean that way.
He's still with us. But he is.
Well, once you're out, you're out.
Right.
You know.
I'm sure you wouldn't like to hear that. It sounded very sad.
Yeah.
But we certainly are no longer going to have the pleasure of his presence on the board of aldermen. He did leave his seat. So, you know, it's interesting how that works and the culture of the process, where it's historically been that the person who leaves says, I would like X person to replace me, and the board would then say, okay, X person's going to replace you. The school committee decided, hey, we're going to do this a little differently. We're going to say, okay, thank you for putting X person forward, and we're going to look at who the other people are who might also be interested in this position. And I think there's value in that. You know, I think there's value in engaging the community whenever we can get a toe in the door to open it up a little bit for community engagement in a process like that. I think there's value.
Yeah.
Because you don't always know what's possible out there, or what candidate could actually be out there that maybe has different qualifications or more appropriate qualifications or what have you.
Sure.
In this case, I think there's been a really good selection. I have to admit I don't know Maureen Bastardi too well. I'm looking forward to getting to know her better, and I'm sure she's going to be a real asset to the board. So
yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's you know, it's funny because you've been here now for your 4th term when you said that, and I said, wow, time goes by fast. Yeah, 8 years, and it does go fast up there, and it does change.
You know,
and,
right?
Yeah, I do know, and well, life goes fast too.
Yeah.
But you know, and I don't know if you told people that you were getting married. And
Yes.
you did.
Yes, I'm
but
getting
you can
married.
tell your consistency. and
It's weird when you post something. We actually got engaged several months ago, but we didn't post it on Facebook. When you post on Facebook, you sort of feel like you're standing on top of a mountain, yelling. You know, so it's. But anyway,
Facebook can be dangerous too.
It can. So now it's actually official, I guess, since it's been posted.
So so congratulations, and really happy for you. So now we got some tough times coming up with the budget coming up again, and it just seems like it comes over and over again. But we do have some silver linings. We have Assembly Square coming in. I know that IKEA had left. You know, that was probably one of the biggest things. How'd you feel about that? Was it a good thing for the city, or, you know?
Probably.
Yeah.
I generally don't think big boxes are a great idea. I also was very concerned about what kind of traffic IKEA might bring, not just back up onto the highway, but back up all the way up Broadway. You know, what was that going to be like in terms of quality of life? I also had asked the developers very early on, several years ago, how they envisioned it working with the strip mall and IKEA. Once they did the land swap, because IKEA was supposed to be on the water and they swapped that. It was going to make it, and it's hard to describe this, but that the strip mall would be here, IKEA would be here, and then there would be like residences here, sort of sandwiched in between with no access. I mean, you can get in or out via the road, but you're going to be, you know, trying to fight through IKEA traffic. So,
well, talking about IKEA traffic, we were going down Route 24, and I think it was when it just had opened up, and we were going down the Cape, and the traffic was out to in the highway, which is Route 24, and it was backed up all the way, and it was pretty amazing. I mean, I don't know if it was because it was a opening of the IKEA at the time, but it seemed like a lot of traffic, you know. And
then imagine the fate of the other stores that share a plaza with IKEA, where everybody is funneled in a bottleneck trying to get to IKEA. Who's going to visit these other stores? I had that same experience in Stoughton. Yeah,
Stoughton, that's where it was.
Yeah, I was trying to go to Jordan's Furniture, and Jordan's Furniture is actually in the same plaza, as IKEA. Correct, and the traffic was backed up all the way onto the highway. And I was like, oh, maybe I just shouldn't go here. I should go to a different store. And and that's all because of IKEA. So if we're talking about building like an urban marketplace, a place where people can come and get all different sorts of their needs met, I'm not sure that was the best plan for that parcel anyway. So.
And I think the mayor agreed with you too, because we were talking about it, and he had discussed it on a forum. I think it was with the Chamber of Commerce, and he said that IKEA might go. This was before they actually went, and he said, you know, if they go, that's really not a big thing. And I think most people felt that way, you know, that you know, it could make up for it, you know, and it seems like it's coming to. Going to be a nice little place, you know, Assembly Square. But
I hope so. I mean, similarly, I think we have to be on the lookout for Walmart. I think Walmart would be a big problem, I think, for Assembly Square. Their history of putting out of business small businesses when they come in is documented and documented and documented. So, you know, imagine a Walmart in Davis Square. Where would there be room for McKinnon's, you know, or for any of the
Davis Square as it is.
Or any of the local flavor. You lose all that when you have a store like that. So I think we really have to be very vigilant about what we want to go there so that we can make sure that the vision is realized.
So, Chairman of Legislative Matters, any big things coming up?
Oh, good question. We have a bunch of things in committee. Actually, we're dealing with we're going to be dealing with a styrofoam ban ordinance recommendation. Yeah, this was done, I believe, in Brookline, and I think Cambridge is considering it. That styrofoam is very difficult to recycle. I don't think it can be recycled, actually. So what do we do about that? So we're going to be meeting and talking more about should we move forward.
Now these are coffee cups too? Like,
coffee cups at Dunkin' Donuts in particular. Other stores, they're all over the place. So are there recycling options that maybe would help to resolve the concerns? You know, Somerville Climate Action's been really involved in this, and I'm looking forward to taking a hard look at it. I mean, I'm inclined to support a ban, but at the same time, if there are other avenues, other ways to do it, if there are better ideas, I'm absolutely open to hearing them. I think we should do something.
Absolutely.
I look forward to doing that. Well, we also have several other things in legislative matters. One of them is an item I proposed having to do with street musicians. Right now we have on the books an ordinance that's very strangely worded that makes one think that maybe they don't have their First Amendment rights in terms of speech. So it's really problematic, and we need to work on that and tweak that. And so that's going to be on the upcoming agendas too, legislative matters.
You'll have some music with that one, I'm
sure. We will.
But I'd like to thank you for coming on the Alderman's Hour. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and congratulations, and you know, good luck this coming year.
Thank you. I always like being here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.